Hi, hello, this is JulesTheHuman here, and welcome to the Jules and Matt Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, JulesTheHuman, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here and talk about it. And today's the last time we're going to be talking about Delicious in Dungeon, an anime that we have eaten our way through, and we're talking about episode 9 through 12 today. And at the end of the show, we're going to pick a brand new anime from this chest. A lot of these are suggested by you, the viewers, with a $5 super chat on YouTube or 500 bits on Twitch. And then some of them are suggested by me and Matt. But you can get your anime of choice to be put into the anime chest to be picked out randomly with a $5 super chat or 500 bits on Twitch. And that'll get posted on the board. We're going to rank this anime and give our final thoughts and then just move on. But I don't go on these anime journeys alone. I go with my co-host, Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. I've just been recovering from the pub holiday on Monday.
St. Patrick's Day.
Oh my goodness. Man, oh man. I never want to pour a Guinness another day in my life. No,
Guinness
it was
really good.
I'm doing well though. Just been playing some board games this week. Playing some Slay the Spire, playing a lot of Repo.
You've been playing Repo.
I've been playing some Repo.
I've seen some gameplay of it.
The game's so silly.
It does seem very silly.
It's just silly incarnate, and I love it. Just turn off your brain for a little bit. You can't just play Repo, but it's fun for a little bit till it's like, oh, okay, that's enough. You know?
I'm good. I'm all set. That was fun.
But how about yourself? How are you doing this week?
Yeah, doing good. You know, we were downtown on the weekend as well, and we saw some floats going by our little river here. I was like, oh my god, I forgot St. Patrick's Day. Boo is there. But enjoying Delicious in Dungeon. And today, since the last day we're talking about, we're going to go through episodes 9 through 12, like I said. Gotta say at the top, Delicious in Dungeon, I was not familiar with your game here because I know in the first couple episodes, episode 1 through 4, when we talked about it, I was a little apprehensive about the show. I don't know if I understood the silliness or I didn't really understand what it was doing, but it warmed up. And by these 4 episodes, I want to keep going. I really just want to keep going. And it was really good. And man, these last episodes, it was a contained little arc. We got the thing that I've been wanting, and I'm like, okay, cool. We still have so many episodes. Where does this anime go? What can we do here? So, and in a lot of anime that I like, Kill la Kill kind of does this, and it's one of my favorite anime. There's a ton of other anime where it's okay, this first chunk of episodes, I didn't think they were going to do it. I didn't think we were going to get, spoiler, Fallon there at the end of episode 12. But a lot of anime that I do like is where they have the main objective or whatever they're trying to do, and then it gets fulfilled. I think it was Boji too, right? Boji kind of did that.
Have we watched Boji?
I mean, we haven't watched it on the show, but I've seen the show.
I haven't.
I watched all of it.
Sorry,
you haven't watched Boji?
No.
It's so good. I loved it all the way through to 24, 20 whatever episodes. I watched it on my free time. I was like, so good. I think it's that one too. So I won't give away spoilers. He does it. I think they do a thing. I don't remember if it was in this one, but they have an objective. They finish the objective, and it's okay, let's go in the world. It's gonna take it to that next level. Just stocks up, and I'm like, yes. So I feel like that's what Delicious Dungeon is, because it gave us what I wanted, and I'm really excited to possibly keep watching. But
because I've seen past these episodes, there's a lot I want to say that I'm not going to say, because I want to keep our conversation around the episodes that we watched up to this point. But the cat kind of gets out of the bag at this point, where the show really starts to show its hand in terms of the amount of kind of depth that it really wants to kind of be able to carry for itself. I mean, it's already kind of showcased that a little bit in the past 4 episodes. I know the first 4 are very light, so it definitely feels like just as you descend into the dungeon itself with the party, the show itself continues to get depth in what it's trying to do. It's like, the concept could get tired really, really fast if they don't find ways to keep it interesting. And in order to keep it interesting, it has to have depth and substance.
Because we're only like on the first
stakes,
literal stakes, dragon stakes. Let's get into the episodes. Episode 9 of Delicious Dungeon, Tentacles / Stew. What happens in episode 9?
The old party member, Namari, introduces her new employers. Being told about the Undine, they attempt to communicate with it to calm it down for passage, which fails, offering to heal Marcel in exchange for extra help. While examining Elf's script, they're ambushed by tentacles, which Namari is able to take down with a crossbow shot, tossed by Senshi, who turns the tentacle into a nice vinegary snack. After Marcel is healed, she butts heads with Namari, also being told she should return to the surface with the new team since her mana is depleted. She decides to consume the Undine in order to replenish her mana, and Senshi and Namari are able to hold it down over a fire using Senshi's adamantine pan. Everyone shares Undine stew before making amends and parting ways.
Okay, we get Namari from the old party. We've only seen this character very little. And we get the introduction of their new party, Kaka and Kiki, and then 2 old scholars who are gnomes. It was kind of crazy that Tansu, who is one of the scholars, pushes Namari into the way of the Undine and gets automatically just poof, headshot. I was like, oh my, I always forget the gruesomeness of the anime, and it just comes out of nowhere. It's just like blood everywhere. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot. It's so
and he's
good.
just so nonchalant about it. He's just like, she's gonna be okay. Pokes her head and just
because he has this magic, bro. What I think now we in these 4 episodes, we're seeing the magic extended universe of the magic, because
it's right there where we get the whole idea that like they're not performing resurrection magic, because in the dungeon human spirits stay bound to the body. Usually when a resurrection fails, it's because the spirit has gotten too far from the body, or the body has become too destroyed. So we get the fact that there's been a spell or a curse placed on the dungeon that causes the spirit to remain close to the human body, not monster bodies. And so when somebody is healed of a fatal wound that caused their death, it also resurrects them, which would not normally happen.
Which seems like a big deal. They just kind of go over. I mean, we see some other instances of it because of the episode 12 of it, but I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What is this whole?
It's been alluded to in the previous episodes too, that like this was a reveal that we were probably gonna get somewhere along the way. Like, why are they talking about death in the dungeon like it's different than if you were to die on the surface? Because it happens like once or twice.
Yeah.
And I remember you mentioning that you caught it, and you were like, what's going on there?
What do you mean first
What
death
do you mean?
or
Yeah,
second death?
Exactly. That whole concept.
Like what?
When you die in the dungeon, it's fine, because if you have a healer in your group, they can just heal your wound, and they don't need to cast some like 8th level spell. They can just cast like a 2nd, 3rd level spell. Like,
but then also the question comes to mind that like, who put that there? Or like what is actually going on here?
Which is the we don't get that until the next episode, but it's the very educated guess is made that it's probably the master of the dungeon, the Mad Mage,
who we heard about before,
but we
as
haven't
a myth possibility, maybe
in the opening story that had like kind of like the storybook ambiance.
A crazy wizard that sits at the bottom of the dungeon, and he's the one you got to defeat, and the dungeon is yours or whatever. Okay, let's go. But now they're like, hold on, wait, this might be true. There's some guy down there. I don't know. No one's seen him, maybe. So yeah, we get the information that the dungeon shackles the dead souls so they cannot fully pass. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't catch this until I started thinking about it later. The monster, they're going down, and what's his name? Laios is like, yo, I think there's a monster over there. And everyone's like, what do you mean? How do you know? He's like, I don't know. I got a feeling. I didn't even think about it was probably his sword.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a sword.
I didn't think about it till like I was like, oh, how did he know? I'm like, what is
Because that's
Lyles
when
just
the
a really good
tentacles show
hunter?
up. What did he say? The tentacles show up, and he's like, "I never would have guessed tentacles." Like he didn't know at all. He
No,
just
he
knew it was
knew
something.
something because Homeboy was wiggling around on his sword. I thought that was
What's
pretty
his
funny.
name? Kensuke. What's wrong?
Kensuke, yeah. Just like, I don't know. There's something there. Something. Oh, tentacles. Oh, geez. Kiki goes up, gets grabbed by the tentacle. Oh, geez. They eat the tentacles with vinegar with some hilarity. And Namari, we find out some information about Namari. Namari is kind of interesting, but like it gives us more information about the world, how these are adventurers. They need to get paid. Namari wouldn't have saved Fallon without a payout. And Marcel's kind of like, what the hell, man? What are you
only,
doing?
only for Chill Chuck to be like, I'm kind of only here because I got paid up front.
Yeah. And
And she's
it's
like, so if you didn't get paid up front, you would have left. And he's just like, listen, man, the type of people you shouldn't trust are the people that say they'll do something for nothing.
and it gets into the them asking Namari to stay, but then it goes into the psychology of, well, if you're going to do something for nothing, then the kind of people that are going to want you are going to expect nothing. I didn't know they were going to go into that route. I would have been better. I don't know if it would have been better. I would have been like, maybe a little more simplified, but it does help us understand the world and the way
Yeah.
they're thinking as
Yeah.
adventurers.
It just it just it gives a reasonable reason as to why this is a exchange, an encounter that we're having with Namari, and this is not Namari rejoining our group. Because the way the show kind of has been running, the whole balance of things might be upset introducing a character this close to like a climactic moment like the Red Dragon
Sure.
fight, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like, where we're getting to close to a very big moment. We're already going to be like potentially reintroducing Fallon if we say Fallon. So like we want to be able to give that time to breathe when that happens. So reintroducing a character right now to the party wouldn't really be in the best interest of the show's pacing.
Yeah, I agree. And I would feel a little less than if somebody joined
It's
the
like, why did
party.
they leave in the first place?
Yeah.
If we just reintroduce a person that left right in episode one, it
And
would
I would
just
have
kind of take all the weight out of that moment.
definitely. And if Namari ended up saving all their asses against the Red Dragon, I would have been like,
Then they're just a Deus Ex Machina.
yeah. And it's like, what the heck? That wouldn't have felt as good. But Laios wants Marcel to go to the surface. But Marcel wants to drink the Undine to gain her mana back. Senchi's pan is adamantine. So we get this industrial pan here that will be very important, that is made by this insanely amazing ore. And they're going to go
Can
capture
pierce
the
the
Undine.
scales of a dragon, and it can block the fangs of a dragon, according to Namari.
Hell yeah. I'm so down for it. Namari and Senshi do a very funny little dance to get the Undine back. And then they cook it. They get Undine stew with tentacles and kelpie meat. And yeah, Namari and the crew leave to the surface. They go back and forth whether they should go, they should stay. It did take a little bit longer, but you're right. I think the better thing to do would be to just have them go, and then something cool happens in the next episode because now we get the above stuff. So I'm like, that's cool. I'm down to get introduced to these characters and then follow them in a different segment. That's cool. Hello, Thermos. Hello, everybody watching live. We appreciate you. We're going to be talking about Delicious in Dungeon. Give us your thoughts on Delicious in
D&D.
Dungeon. D&D, if you have seen it, give us your thoughts in the live chats, either on Twitch, YouTube, wherever, mine or Matt's channel. But yeah, we get into episode 10, Giant Frogs / Above Ground. What happens in episode 10?
The party experiences a slowdown due to tentacles in the orcish routes. Chilchuck thinks on his toes in order to bypass the sting of the tentacles and activates a trap, killing the frog that had them cornered. Before Marcel can react, Senshi and Laios have already turned the frogs into clothes and a meal. On the surface, Grandpa Tansis speaks to the Island Lord over land disputes with elves and the potential for seizing the immortality spell of the dungeon. And Namari checks for the temple for any signs of Fallen. Back in the dungeon, Marcel worries over the impending clash with the Red Dragon, and the team work together to come up with a plan to defeat it. Senshi cooks the party a nice meal before unexpectedly the dragon shows up, forcing the party to spring into action.
We've had some we've had some battle scenes and we've had some fun adventuring scenes up until episode 10. Like we've had the fight with the living armor, we've had the serpent rooster thing, whatever that was. I think my favorite little segment from the show is the little frog one, the frog thing, because that boy got ate. It was so funny. I don't know why. I love this boy. He just flop. And I'm like, oh my
That guy
God.
on Chilchuck there, and he was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, that's a snack.
it was so good.
I'm gonna eat you whole,"
I was like, oh my God, no.
because you're not expecting it to happen.
No. And I thought he was just gone. I thought
Yeah.
it was like, whoa, okay, he just ate him. He just started eating him. They're going to the 5th floor. We have spent 10 episodes going straight down as fast as we can, taking as much rest as we can. We're only on the 5th floor.
It's an average of one floor every 2 episodes.
That's insane. These floor. How did this? Can I get a map or something? Like whenever they're
It felt
drawing
like
the
we
maps,
were on the 3rd floor forever, and then
Yeah.
it felt like we passed through the 4th floor immediately.
Mhm.
And now here we are on the 5th floor.
Well, because they did that whole little spiral thing.
Mhm.
They went all the way down. How big? Because like a floor
It's big.
is a floor this. It's not like just
It's like
one.
I don't think like it's like where in our world, in our real world, 2-story building. If I'm on the ground floor, I'm on the 1st floor. If I'm on the 2nd floor, I'm on the 2nd floor. I think their floors are like zones, where it's like this is the 1st zone. Even though we're calling it the 1st floor of the dungeon, the 1st floor makes up multiple like vertical
Zones.
spaces. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it's just like biomes,
I'm cool with that.
That's
They can
like how I picture it. They give one graphic in like the first few episodes, and that's kind of like when they're showing like the first 3 floors, and that's kind of how it looked. It's like, oh, that's like more like zones than floors.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is the giant frog zone because Giant Frog dropped Kensuke down the center and drops Marcel's staff Ambrosia straight down the middle. And I'm like, I'm like, oh, there's his sword. And then she's like, I'll get him. Oh, there's her Ambrosia. I was like, what? And then the frog swallowed Chilchuck. I'm like, this is great. I love this. I didn't think, again, at the beginning, I don't know if I appreciated the charm or understood it, but now that I've lived in it for a while, this is peak. I love it. These little guys. Senshi makes frog food while Laios is making a frog suit. Marcel can't decide on who to be mad at first because they're just going, sewing, cooking, and boom, they look cute in their little frog suits.
Like, wait, what are you? I don't.
It's great. I love them. I love them all. You didn't get a picture of them in their frog suits. They had some great.
Dang it.
They had some great frog suit content there.
They all pause. Marcel, we all think you'd look really cute if you put this on.
I like how the eye holes make us look like we have little ears. It's just like so silly.
Yes, ma'am. You buy into the fact that like they have been adventuring with each other for a while. Like this is an adventuring party. They didn't just meet in the tavern. And even Senshi, who is the kind of like, the outsider of the group brought in, quickly establishes himself as like, kind of like the dad of the group, as he feels compelled to provide nutritious meals to look after everybody on the day-to-day basis. He's like the friend in the survival crafting games that's always cooking food for the whole group to make sure everybody on the server stays fed.
Yep, and they're important. They are important. One, the way that the squad that was with Namari, the way they got to the surface was through a painting or portal sort of
Mhm.
thing, which also made me think of the paintings that we went into in a previous episode. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's suspicious. What is that? So are we in, because I thought of, okay, on one side, I have so many like thoughts going everywhere. On one thing, it could just be portal magic. I'm gonna open up a portal because we saw that they were higher level magic users. So I'm gonna open up a portal and it's gonna come out through this painting just because that's where I have it. It could be coming out of a wall, but it's out of this painting. Or in my head, I'm like, is the dungeon in a painting? Have we been paintceptioned this whole time? Like, is the real world that we know, that the adventurers know, is it the real world or are we painting? And then did Laios jump into a painting so he got paintceptioned twice, or did he jump into the real world? Huh? So like them just coming out of a painting and then just be like, la la la, we're gonna keep going. I'm like,
La
but
la la. La la la.
but Namari seemed to be chill about it. So I don't know
But
if
they
that's
also
what.
did Namari did seem to get like lightheaded or something, like fainted right as they stepped through.
Huh.
So
I got
maybe it's
questions.
because it's that what is it? Dungeon sickness, ocean madness. Oh, she got the ocean madness.
His name is Tansu, right? I wrote it down twice. I don't know if that's really his name. The
The
this
old
guy,
guy, grandpa.
yeah, the grandpa.
Tansu or Tonsus?
Oh, maybe
Tonsus.
Tansus,
Yeah, the Tonsus. Yes,
the
Tonsu.
Tansus. Um, Grandpa's meeting with the Island Lord that we have. So like we're expanding a lot here in the ending of where I want to keep continuing because there's a lot of stuff that they bring up that I think are interesting and they're not beating you over the head about it, and it's just kind
Yeah.
of lightly
Just kind of like
placed.
sprinkled seasoning here and there.
Here's an island lord that you didn't know existed, and now we're just
We're
gonna
not going to give you exposition on him. We're just going to let you sit in on the conversation long enough to where you're going to understand who this guy is and what his
yeah.
is the role that he serves in this
They're not
universe.
going to say I'm this guy and this is this guy and I'm the one that that we're listening in on the conversation, and it's the most intriguing thing to me. I'm like, we're first one. We're on the up like in the outer world. I've only seen the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, I'm outside. We're outside. But then also like, ooh, what are they talking about? The Mad Mage drew these magic circles in the dungeon. The elves say that the dungeon belongs to them. The land was bestowed to the humans by the elves. He's like, okay, my hands are tied. It was given to me. I don't know. It's really cool. I'm like, yo, I was not familiar with the game Delicious in Dungeon. I thought you were just Laios eating some weird shit.
Yeah,
But
that's what the first few episodes feel like. That's what I mean. It's that like if that's what the entire show was, it would get tired. It would get tired very quickly. And we've seen shows that try to lean too heavily on that like introductory element, the hook, so to speak. But it's like the hook can't be everything. It's just what's there to get me in. Once I'm in, you gotta keep it coming. Otherwise, I'm gonna get bored. If you just
yep.
think the same hook's gonna keep me going the whole time.
Hello, Cosmo. Is that the Zaddy Galley and Poppy Jules teaches about the animes? I'm tired, Grandpa. Well, that's too damn bad. Hello, Cosmo. Namari has business at the temple and checks to see if Fallon was brought up dead or if there's uh, any thought or any sightings of Fallon at all. The crew enters the castle town and orcs. That's where the orcs had set up posts before. The wargs were killed by red dragons. They get into this huge planning stage montage, and they made some nice cutlets to conquer the dragon, and all of a sudden the dragon's here. And brother, we get into some cinema. Episode 11. Episode 11's titled Episode 11 Red Dragon 1. But what happens in Red Dragon 1?
The team attempts to execute their plan, stumbling through the steps until eventually collapsing a building on the dragon. Unfortunately, the building only holds for seconds before the dragon escapes, and without a plan, both Senshi and Chilchuck get pinned while blinding the dragon in an eye. And Laios and Marcel construct their own plan, sending Laios flying into the face of the dragon. Using his leg and allowing the dragon to bite down on it, Laios is able to get to the dragon's reverse scale and deliver a fatal blow. Laios going unconscious and remembering his childhood with Fallon. Marcel heals the party back up as they excavate the dragon and attempt to find Fallon, only to discover her staff amongst human bones.
It's kind of like... It's kind of okay. I'm trying to find a thing here. It's kind of like where you have a musician playing, a very good musician, Juilliard or North Texas, whatever musician, and you ask them to keep playing You Mary Had a Little Lamb, and it's like, dang, that's really good. That sounds amazing, actually. That's really good. And then you're like, okay, play this expert piece, and then they let it rip. And I'm like, oh shit, you can do that, and you do it very well. It's kind of like this anime, because right now, up until this point, I'm like, dang, dude, this is really good. I like this little silliness, these little character guys. And then the weight they put into episode 11, the artistry, the character, the story into episode 11, I'm like, dang, bro, didn't know you had that in you. That's amazing too, and you just blew my expectations out of the water. I don't know.
No,
Was...
I get exactly what you're saying. I get exactly what you're saying. It's like, yeah, I was here for the we're just kind of, wandering through a dungeon, having little meals, getting to know these little characters. There's like, it's not very weighty. There's some combat, there's some blood, but it's not very gory. It's not super visceral. And then we're getting to know this character that we're on the way to save, and they're such a kind and sweet and nice character. We want to see our party be reunited with them, and surely they will get the job done because they continue to make progress, and they're talking about how much how they can't wait to see that Fallon again. And all of a sudden it's just like boom, and the bomb, just like that's been sitting in the corner, just all of a sudden explodes with everybody not even realizing it had ever been lit. But they knew that bomb was in the corner because they knew that there's a possibility that they weren't going to be able to save Fallon. But everybody just, until Marcel had that breaking moment in the last episode, or in this episode, the last one, I think, nobody really kind of took the time to think about what failure could mean.
Yeah.
At least unless I'm forgetting it. Laios kind of thought about the guilt of the fact that he allowed it to happen and that he lost his sister and that he's still safe, but it wasn't really that there's potential that this isn't just going to go the way we want. And we see that happen right from the start of the episode when they lay out plans, a very clear constructed plan, and it immediately doesn't work, which is very in spirit of something like Dungeons and Dragons, trying to pull off something that complicated. You make your dice rolls and things don't go your way, and you just gotta make it up on the fly.
The way it started off with Final Fantasy boss music, I knew it was going to be next level. I mean, it wasn't just what the characters were going through. I think it was just the way it's set up, the way that the animation and the music went into it. Here's where we've been going. and we're gonna make it feel epic. And it did feel epic when the planning and all that stuff, and them having their own parts, but then it going to shit, like you were telling, like you were saying, and then having to do something else, and then Laios doing something incredibly insane. But at the beginning of this, we get the epic Final Fantasy boss music. Laios is still giving some dragon facts that he had, and they dropped the building on the dragon. It couldn't be that, right? Like that was too easy. Because why?
It's too easy.
It's too easy. Because then he just gets up, shrugs it off, and while Laios is underneath, and this, I knew this was going to be a thing. I mean, it's what's it called? It's that you knew Kinsuke being in the sword was going to be an important crux of something, because it was just a really fun thing, but also this is something really abnormal, and he hasn't told anybody. It was going to be something, and it ended up being that he had the perfect shot, but it wiggled out of his hands, and I was like, oh my god, no way.
You just I audibly gasped when that happened. I forgot it happens.
There's so many gasps in this episode. One, because back to back, his sword wiggles off, flies away. It's like, oh no. Senshi axe to the dragon, shatters the axe.
Yep.
Which
also got foreshadowed.
I guess so, because she was
Namari was like,
Namari.
You are obviously aren't taking care of that axe, and it's gonna break on you. She said it straight to his face.
Sucks. Not the dropping things on people again. Feels like the log incident. It was pretty much that. They dropped, I don't know if we have the screenshot. They just dropped a building on the dragon. That's not it. I don't think we have it.
Have the shot of him escaping it, but not getting stuck in it.
Then we find out Senshi's knife is a mithril kitchen knife, which Senshi was being very shady when Namari was like eyeing him up, and that's what I'm pretty sure we figure out, that don't look at my mithril kitchen knife, because this is the thing. Senshi gets squished a little bit. Senshi's animations, everybody, like,
everyone's
they just
animations.
Kicked it. They pulled overdrive, and they're like, let's do it. Just epic animation of of the movement, running.
Very, very exaggerated.
It added to the epicness of them trying to get away,
and the chaotic nature of the idea of fighting something so overwhelmingly powerful,
and you having no weapons in your mind, and like thinking, actually, are we gonna have to kill it with this mithril kitchen knife after all of our other weapons are gone? All of our plan of dropping the building to slow it down, is this what we're gonna have to do? Okay. But then Laios and what's her name? God dang it. Marcel. Laios and Marcel. Laios says, I'm gonna think of something. Just blast me on there. I'll figure it out. Whatever. Laios blast onto the dragon's face.
Team Rocket blasting up again.
I just eyes wide. Okay, we're doing this. Like, it did feel very D&D, but also just epic in nature. Like, what else? What do we have? What are we gonna do? Okay, let's figure it out and see if it goes. And
blast me onto his face.
Blast me onto his face. Crushes his leg. And then stabs and falls in silence. Like cinema, like just all the epic movement, the animation,
the way
the
shot cut of like the moment before he tapped the ground to show the dragon falling, to cut back to him like bouncing on the ground unconscious. Yeah, this is really cool.
It's like, I didn't know y'all can do this. You just saved it for this part.
We talked about fighting a dragon, and it's like we started the series with fighting a dragon too, you know, but it's just, it managed to make this feel so much more epic and so much more like larger than life in scale. Whereas the first time it really captures like the idea of, oh, we're getting like TPK'd. There's just total chaos, discord, and we just got recalled out of there.
Get a flashback of Lyos and Fallon in a graveyard, and the ghost wants Lyos to take off its ring because it's trapping him there. Fallon, this is the first time that we see Fallon's eyes, which is kind of interesting. And Fallon has ghost magic, whatever that means, and we get some more of that in the next episode. But I like that little flashback of him because of him falling and him thinking back to a time with him and Fallon. Marcel ends up mending his leg back, which I'm like, oh, okay, we can.
Oof, that's itchy.
Yeah, that's itchy, but like you got your leg back, bro. Like that's cool. I'm down for that. They end up
But
carving.
they also had Marcel heal Senshi and Chilchuck, and Marcel, because she isn't the best healer and because she heals them really quickly, they get post healing
Pain.
trauma, or what did you say it was?
Pain.
Yeah, post healing pain or whatever it is,
pain.
and that whole
because of how fast it was.
That whole idea is hilarious. It reminds me of what was the nurse in that one Bungo Stray Dogs? The nurse that was like, anytime she could only heal fatal wounds.
Yeah.
So like, like anytime she was healing people,
it's like you got to be almost
them.
dying.
Yeah.
You got to be close to dying, and then I can heal you. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to make you hurt a little bit more.
Exactly.
Because I can't heal you just yet. Yeah.
It just that whole the way that since she was like looking at her all fearful reminded me of that.
They end up carving into the dragon and sorting through the dragon's insides, and we see possibly Fallon's skull. And we get into episode 12, Red Dragon 2. Man, episode 11 was so good. And we just keep on going. Episode 12, what happens in Red Dragon 2?
Marcel explains how she was somewhat expecting the outcome of what just happened and had a plan in the worst case scenario. Being a forbidden magic practitioner, she has decided she would resurrect Fallen no matter the cost, asking Lyos for consent as Fallen's older sibling. They reconstruct her skeleton and use the dragon for calories to resurrect Fallon, who begins to showcase something has changed, even if ever so slightly. Also feeling guilt over the spell circles at the site of her resurrection. Senshi uses the dragon as an oven before the party searches for shelter to rest in. Fallon reconciles with everyone before bed, and a familiar face is seen stumbling upon the resurrection site.
Brother, they are going to put her back together. They're taking bones.
All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Oh my God. They are like, I didn't know she was going to be dead. 2, they're going to just resurrect her here, and we find out Marcel's.
To be fair, it's like how they took them over a week. Like she was going to, don't you starve to death if you don't eat in 4 days?
True. I mean, that was kind of my concern.
Die of dehydration if you don't drink any water in 7 days.
Yeah, but you could just eat the stuff that the dragon eats, no?
I don't know, man. I'm just saying,
you never been eaten before.
When the second they start pulling its organs out, it's like, I don't know. It's just do we really expect to find her alive? Do we really expect this to happen? And just be like, okay, now we'll go home happy.
I really did love the time that they took and the perspective that the camera had, showing them back far and then showing how big the dragon is versus them walking and trying to cut into it and how deep the dragon scales were and all that stuff. I liked the time that it took
skin because and fat is thick, is feet deep alone.
Yeah, because this gave it the proper weight of them killing one of the greatest monsters in this dungeon. And now it's going to take time. And now it's going to... so I really did like how much time and weight they put into the actual end of the dragon. Where, okay, now we got to sift. Now we got to figure this out. And we got to get to it because it's taking forever, Love that stuff. Marcel specializing in ancient magic that's sort of frowned upon, this dark magic. We knew she was a skilled magic user. She didn't say she said she wasn't good at healing. So what was she good at? And why was she I don't know, learning from a younger class or like sort of sitting in on a younger class where we've seen that flashback of her sitting in with Fallon's class at one point. She tells that story. Um, that it's I don't know. How do you feel about Marcel being this like
I
dark
don't
magic
know.
user?
I don't know if I would be making the same choices that she makes, but I think that she puts up some very reasonable arguments in her own defense, such as, magic doesn't have morality. It's not like that's kind of like a, you know, guns don't kill people, people kill people, kind of way of looking at it. Then there's also how she was
It
like,
it
healing magic, is that not non-consequential? Because even healing magic can be used for torture, which is very true.
it feels like something a dark magician would say.
It's like
it
it's just when like it's kind of a double, what's the word for it? I'm forgetting the proper term, but it's like it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation in her case, where if she tries to use it for good, you're using dark magic regardless. But if you do use it for bad, then all people who use this magic are bad. I don't know. It's an interesting take as opposed to something like that you would find in the Wizarding World series, where it's just like outright, oh yeah, there's this whole type of magic that's just about causing harm and
killing
death
or
and
anything
killing.
like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Like the forbidden curses is where that's at. But she's not using a forbidden curse. She's not like she's performing forbidden magic, but it's not like to hurt somebody else. It's for resurrection,
And why
which
would
we
that
already
be
have resurrection in this universe. We already have types of resurrection. It's just because she's resurrecting somebody whose like body has been like literally dissolved to nothingness. That's all of a sudden that's the line that we're now crossing, is
yeah.
using the literal calories from another thing to create this thing, even though if we really want to get down to the nitty gritty, like all matter in the universe has come from somewhere else. It's never something that's created new.
Yeah.
So again,
It,
yeah, where do those moral lines really get crossed? It's hard for me to say. Would I do what she's doing? We all do crazy things for the people that we love.
well, I mean, they put a whole thing where if they would have to try and get somebody to come down and resurrect it, but then we don't have the calories for it because it's gonna, go bad or whatever. We have all of it, everything we have is here now. Why waste time? And then they may not be even able to do it, because I don't know, their magic isn't what she's using. I just thought it was interesting and made Marcel a lot more interesting because
Yeah,
now, because
it
before,
adds a layer to her.
yeah, because before we only saw her trying to do healing or firepower, and she's pretty good at firepower, not so
Yeah.
much as healing. But now we are going to add Fallon, who is a really good magician, and now we have something that can separate Marcel to be more interesting in a different way,
Even though
where she
they're
has
both
these
magic
dark.
users, yeah, it's definitely been kind of setting Marcel up as like, the offensive magic user, whereas Fallon's kind of like the defensive abjuration support
Yeah,
magic user. Even they even say like, how did you defeat a dragon before? Oh well, Marcel, or I mean Fallon, would give us all fire defensive spells,
yeah.
and then we would all distract it. Marcel would hit it with huge explosion spells, and then that guy would go in for a killing blow, easy peasy. It's like, oh,
Oh, that's how we would do it. Fallon gets revived. All is well here. Then we find out that Fallon has this other quirk that she might have picked up from being resurrected in this way, where she can use
do
defensive
you
magic without chanting. What's up?
do you think it's because of the resurrection, or do you think it's because of the source of her new form, which would be the
The
dragon?
dragon. I didn't think about that. Um, gotta be honest. I one, ruled out that this happened when she was alive before. I don't think that's what that is because they did not allude to that at all. She was a little weird talking to ghosties, but like nothing like not being able to chant or not having to chant their spells or anything like that. So she was weird in one aspect, but not in this aspect. And now she has this other thing, this energy. I'm leaning towards her having it because of the way she was resurrected, but then that's also kind of similar to being like, well, you were resurrected using a dragon. So I don't know.
Mhm.
I do know that this was not how she
Like, do
was
you think?
before.
Yeah, do you think if they used the same spell, but they had a bunch of like pigs and sheep, that this would still be happening?
I don't know. She could be one of one because when Marcel was saying that this would happen before, they would use pigs and sheep and all that. So maybe nobody else is like her. So maybe she's going to be very unique in that way. As per the source, could be. I mean, magic. Dragons are, I guess, magical beings. I don't know if this red dragon was, but yeah, that could be it. I didn't think about that before this.
Just a thought.
Um, I was fine with the amount of fan service. It was kind of weird.
It's jarring, but it's like, if it's there and it's making up like 1% of one episode,
it
sure,
yeah,
whatever.
it was like 1%, and it just felt very long because they were
Yeah.
making up for it for the 12 episodes they didn't give us anything, and then it was like, here's the scene, and I'm like, oh, extended scene, but it's whatever. Senji blows himself up because he's tried to start a fire next to
The
the
dragon that
dragon,
had all of its lighter fluid
flammable
just
stuff.
out.
Fallon uses the defensive magic, like I said, and they end up using the dragon like an oven. And I love that. So good. Make some onion pizza and red roast dragon. That looked pretty
That
good.
pizza looked bomb.
The pizza
Not gonna
looked
lie.
good. The meat. I just had a steak over the weekend too. Oh, that
And
meat.
then we get like them all kind of like pausing and holding their breath because they're like like wait. So if we used a dragon to resurrect her, now she's eating a dragon. Is that cannibalism? Like, is she
Mm-hmm.
technically injured? They're all looking
Mm.
at her like, is this okay? And she's
And then
like, this
they,
is delicious. And they're like,
yeah.
I get let's just roll with it.
And she's immediately enamored by them eating everything on their way down here. It's really good. Love that Fallon's so
Who
dope
she's
about it.
the only person, like, obviously, okay, yeah, you're Laios' sister, awesome, but it's like
Yeah.
every other person that they've interacted with that finds that out, they're like, oh my god.
What are y'all doing down
Like,
here?
even that guy grandpa, when he thought about them again, it like showed the persona that he has in his head after meeting them, and they Laios just like has these crazy
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that where they panned up everybody and they're just like eating things. Yeah, love that.
So it's
Uh,
just hilarious to see Fallon be the one that's like, "That's so awesome! What did everything taste like?"
but tell us everything. And Lyle shows him Kensuke. He comes clean about Kensuke, and Lyos wants, or Fallon wants to try it and see what it tastes like. Fallon sees a little girl. Now, this is part of her ghost magic, right? And Lyos, I really like that they showcase that Lyos is sort of okay with this or like knows about this sort of thing and like kind of accepts her the way that she is. So I really like them being that close because he only saw like a brick wall, but she saw like a spirit there. He's like, oh, that's nice. Okay, cool. And he's just like not freaked out at all. He's like, yep, it's my sister. Like
Yep.
she's a ghost. It's a thing. Um,
Ever
at
since that
the
day she
end,
bonked him.
yeah.
Bonk.
The end, we see the elf from the painting sees the resurrection circle at the end of the episode to go into the next arc. Man, wild way to end.
With that guy
So many
standing over it.
questions.
So who's that guy?
Who that guy? That was the elf from the painting, right?
That was the elf from the. I mean, dark skin, purple eyes, gray, white hair, same
Looked like him.
features. Who dat?
And
Who
what's
dat?
going on? What's going on in the world? Matt, we got to
I
get
had a
going.
guess who that is when I watched it the first time. My guess was right.
Oh, cool. We are done with Delicious in Dungeon. 10 minutes to spare. We are done. We finished all 12 episodes in the way we do things when we finish an anime. Well, there's more episodes, but we only stop after 12. The way we do rank these anime on 3 criteria: animation, storytelling, and vibes. And we put it on our board. Matt, for animation, what would you give Delicious in Dungeon?
I'm giving it an A. If we had more consistency out of the show with like things that with how it was able to handle like episode 11 with its sequences and stuff, I'd probably be giving it as an S. But there are a few episodes that do feel a little bit more static, a little less dynamic, a little more just still shots. But when the show, like you said, it's like, dang, I wasn't familiar with your game. When the show wants to pull it off, it really can pull it off. And regardless, the art style and the environments are always a pleasure to look at, and just a little bit above the standard for me. So that's why I'm giving it an A across the board on animation. Jules, where are you going to rate it for animation?
Animation, I hear you, and it did bother me at the beginning, but the highs so outweighed it, and I'm okay with that. I gave animation an S because of the greatness that I saw, not only in episode 11, but in the animation of the characters, the different, so many different expressions. We had the like token anime faces sometimes, and they all had some little silly faces at points, but like the attention to detail with Marcel's changing hairstyles all the time, them having different outfits, the way the reflections were in the water at one point, it looked so real. And I'm like, there's just so many high points, as well as episode 11. I can't say it enough. It was just perfect and beautiful. So um definitely, I think the still shots did, if I were to grade it maybe last week, I would have been like A or B or something, but like kind of taking it as a whole, and the high points that they did, and I reflected, I think it's for me would be an S.
That's
um
fair.
Storytelling, what would you give Delicious Dungeon on storytelling?
Storytelling, I'm giving it an S. I think again, this show is a beautiful demonstration of it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Every step feels like, even if it's not moving the plot forward in some way, we are developing the world in interesting and dynamic ways and new ways. We're seeing the characters overcome challenges, scary and unique challenges with interesting solutions. It's never just as simple as outside of a few times, as we swing our weapon and the problem's gone. And I really enjoy the way the show is able to just kind of like build the characters up over time and create this interesting party dynamic that I just grew to absolutely adore. Where I want to see these characters' stories develop more and see this world get fleshed out more, because we only get to see, like you say, mostly parts of the dungeon, and it seems like there's so much more nuance to the world that's than just this one dungeon. But I enjoy this dungeon quite a lot. There's a lot to it. Jules, where are you going to be rating the storytelling?
I would give storytelling about an S minus, A plus. We're leaning towards S because um I wasn't hooked on the hook. Like, the hook is they're going to be eating the monsters, and we're going to be doing this whole thing, and we're spending some time diving into what and how to make these things, and I'm like, okay, that's cool for some people. For me, I was not hooked on the hook. I was hooked on them going to the actual destination, how they got there, in the ways that they did it. And I found myself on the journey enjoying these characters so much, enjoying their connections to the world, to the dungeon, to each other, and to the food. Their connections to the food and how it was prepared. I was not I don't care about how they made it, but I'm enjoying them making it. Like, I don't want to see them and Senji talk about all the things, but I'm like, this is bringing them closer together. So I'm like definitely invested in the characters, in the story. And like you were
Especially in
saying,
the few times somebody else cooks something and they're like inviting everybody else to sit down. It's just that whole concept.
yeah, it's
Definitely.
so good. And it's like they started poking some things into the broader world about what's going on and questions or some weird things, and I'm like, okay, this is enough for me to want to continue. And the storytelling and vibes probably are what going to make me want to continue watching. Vibes, what would you give this anime on vibes?
I'm giving it an S. Man, I love this show. I really do. I think it's one of the, at the same time, like, easiest to recommend shows for people new to animation, but at the same time would easily be able to be enjoyed by somebody who has seen many, many, many different animes. It is
Yeah.
unique in so many different ways, but the way that it introduces you into its world with this colorful and cool cast of characters, and the fact that by episode 12 we're taking this concept of like eating the monsters in the dungeons and we have this fun cooking sequence, but then episode 12 or episode 11 we're putting together a human skeleton to try to resurrect it using the body of a dragon. Like, it's so cool. It's so high fantasy fiction fulfillment, in my opinion. Like, this is as crazy and morbid and dark as some sides of this world are. This is a world where I would want to be isekai'd into. Full stop.
Yeah.
Jules, where are you gonna rate the vibes for Delicious in Dungeon?
Vibes are an S. You did bring something up, and I was thinking about it right now. And yeah, I think this could be the next. What anime should I watch? What's your recommendation? No matter what, I think I could say Delicious in Dungeon. Whether, like you were saying, they've seen a bunch of anime before, this is their first time watching an anime or trying an anime, I think this would be it. It has a lot of different stuff. It has the hook, which could be inviting to some people, beautiful animation, which could be inviting to some people, the grit and craziness of the violence and the interesting ways they get out of situations could be something for people. So I think it all around is just a really good anime for anyone. And I was not familiar with it, and I didn't know, but yeah, I think I did find my next favorite anime here on the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. Really good, really pretty cool.
Brought to you by Yo Bubsy.
Thank you, Bubsy, for the rec. Now, if anybody says what anime should I watch next? I need to watch something. Delicious Dungeon. Have you seen it? Yes, no, go watch it. As you might expect, Delicious in Dungeon, the final ranking for this anime, S tier anime. An S tier anime, our first one for season 3, Delicious in Dungeon. It's just really good. Here it is on our board compared to all the other anime that we've seen.
Yeah.
There she is, Marcel, S tier. We got a bunch of good girls up there. Love these anime. That's how it's stacking up against the rest of season 3. Delicious in Dungeon. We're done. We're done with you. We love you. Hate to see you go. We got to keep on going. We have all these anime to pick from. Matt is going to pick one randomly. If you want to get your anime put into this anime chest, $5 super chat, 500 bits on Twitch, $5 super chat on YouTube can be submitted, not when we're live. So you can do that when we're offline as well. And we'll put that in there. But the next anime that we're going to be watching for the next 3 weeks is
Vinland Saga. This was
Vinland
dropped in by Speed Angel.
Speed Angel, Vinland Saga. Have you seen it?
I've seen the first 3 episodes of this one. I must have been watching it back sometime during a lockdown when, like, 2020, 2021. And I remember really enjoying the first few episodes, but I think it was like the newest season of Attack on Titan came out or something like that, and I hopped
Wow.
over and I hopped over to watching that, and then I failed to make it back around to Vinland
This
Saga.
guy.
But the 2 seasons are out of Vinland Saga, and the second season is highly acclaimed, and it did win many awards.
Nice. I have read the first 2 omnibus. I have the first 2 omnibus of Vinland Saga. Insane. It's like nothing else I have on my shelf. It's
And I
really
believe
good.
this is on Amazon Prime, actually.
Amazon Prime. We're venturing out. Why can't everything just be on Crunchyroll? Well,
No.
The Listen's Dungeon, because it's a Netflix original.
Oh,
But
it's on Netflix now too.
Vinland Saga. Watch episode 1 through 4 of Vinland Saga on Netflix if you got it. I'm excited. I have not seen the anime at all. I've read the first 2 manga. Manga were really good, or the first 2 omnibus. So I probably know the whole story. I don't know. But I enjoyed it as a manga. I enjoyed it as a manga and excited to watch the anime. So watch episode 1 through 4 of Vinland Saga before next week, before we go live next, and give us your thoughts. Matt, when you are not eating monsters in a dungeon, where can they find you on the internet?
You can follow me on my socials, on Insta, on Threads at itsmatt_galley, or you can follow me on my YouTube, where we also host this podcast live at Matt_galley. Jules, when we're not here trying to slay the red dragons, where can the people find you?
Find me at JulesTheHuman, at JulesTheHuman on all social media, on Instagram, on Threads, on YouTube. Like we've been saying, you can submit $5 super chats on my YouTube. If you don't catch us live and you're watching this later, you can still do that at any of the episodes. It pops up on my YouTube feed, and we'll add that in there later. You can watch this podcast on Spotify or any place you get your podcast. Go back and check out all the other episodes that we've done. We've done like 3 seasons. We've done like over 100 episodes. If you're like, man, I want to hear them talk about this anime, we've probably done it. So go back and check out the other episodes in the past. But Vinland Saga, episode 1 through 4, next week. I'm excited. We'll see
Until next time.
you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Was my mic? Oh.